Well, we're in the dean's office of a beautiful new building on the campus of the University of Oklahoma that houses the Gaylord College of Journalism and Mass Communication, a building that opened in 2004 and then was expanded in 2009. So we're very fortunate to have one of the most modern and beautiful facilities in the United States. Well, journalism at the University of Oklahoma will celebrate its centennial in 2013, so it's one of the oldest programs in the country. But the Gaylord College of Journalism and Mass Communication is quite young, only 12 years old. And it was endowed by the Gaylord family, the family that owned the largest newspaper for more than 100 years in Oklahoma, up till 2011 when they sold the property. But E.K. Gaylord was a pioneer when this state was settled, one of the early businessmen and boosters of Oklahoma, and his family ran the newspaper, and which was not only an Oklahoma City newspaper, but a major force in the state of Oklahoma for many, many years. And Oklahoma was unique in that it was the only state in the United States where both metropolitan newspapers, the Oklahoman and the Tulsa World, were locally owned. And that has made quite an imprint on this state and the way journalism developed. Well, we really pride ourselves in offering a plethora of media opportunities. We have 26 different media operations and organizations in our college. We have a student-run public relations and advertising agency, one of the few in the United States with an expansive role like ours. We have a 24-hour cable television station. We have a variety of programming on the station, a 30-minute daily newscast, a sports program, several music programs, a scripted drama program. We have a student-operated radio station. We have a webzine for journalism students. We are a key part of an investigative reporting consortium in the state, a nonprofit entity that's headquartered in our college. There's just no end to the opportunities. We have a philosophy of ethics throughout the curriculum. So it's our goal to sprinkle part of that teaching throughout what we do. Generally, in journalism education around the U.S., it's pretty easy because the ethical foundations of journalism are so strong. I know that may come as a shock to many viewers who see that certain areas of the mass media have lost their way. But there really is a strong underpinning of ethical practice that has undergirded this field for many, many years. And it's much stronger in our area than it is in the general business community, for example, or many other fields. And we certainly see the need for it today because the media environment is so multifaceted and so undisciplined in the way it's grown compared to a very finite, regimented, control type of media that we had during most of the 20th century. So students are going to go out in a variety of environments, many times on their own. And there aren't going to be organizations necessarily that will overlay a strong set of ethical principles. So it is challenging today because if students don't get it here, I'm not sure what reinforcement they're always going to get in the real world. Well, we're trying to emphasize business more because clearly the crisis that journalism has been in the past few years comes from its weakness on the business side, not its weakness on the journalism side, that the business model has been undermined in journalism, especially print, where classified advertising has collapsed because of Craigslist, where People are expecting to get things on the internet free and not pay for it. So newspapers are having to reinvent themselves and through subscription revenue rather than advertising, and advertising's going down. And that means everyone in a newspaper has to be more conscious of the business side of the house and how revenue comes in and how marketing plays a part in that newspaper. And similarly for broadcasting as well. So it's, there's a lot more to think about than there used to be. And there are a lot more challenges. We were talking about ethics. Clearly, when you put business in the middle of this, that's an ethical red flag right there, that if you've got to have some standards, editorial standards, and can't just let making a profit run roughshod over those standards. Well, there's obviously going to be a shakeout. We spent the whole 20th century building up an infrastructure that served the masses, where everyone took the daily newspaper, and it was just pervasive. And those days are gone. It's going to be a much smaller audience, more specialized. The publications are going to have good, strong local content that people are willing to pay for. If it's commodity news that you can get anywhere, then why should people pay for your product? And that's where soul searching is being done at every newspaper in America now, asking themselves, well, what do we have that's quality and that people want? And the most important dimension today, what are they willing to pay for? Not what they're willing to read if you give it to them free, but what are they willing to plunk down a subscription and actually pay for that content? And they're learning fast and are getting stronger by the day once they do get the hang of what it is their content is worth. Obviously, with any journalism, there's a certain organizational bias that's built into the way news is gathered and analyzed and reported. But I think it's minimal. I think the standards of journalism are still strong today. We've got many good journalism organizations that are doing a good job of portraying what is happening. News has become a lot softer, something I'm not always glad to see, but there are also many strong substantive sources out there. We're becoming more of a niche marketplace. It's not one size fits all. You have in the magazine industry, for example, you have us and People going like gangbusters, and you have The Economist, one of the fastest growing magazines in the U.S. So it depends on what your interests are. That's where journalism is growing. And the New York Times went behind a paywall last year, and they are flourishing in that situation. There's a group of people who will pay for good journalism. And there's several strong local papers that are being successful. They're finding it may be a smaller audience, but it's a high quality audience, and there are people who care about what's going on, objective journalism done by professionals, and there is a market for that. Journalism's just working its way through this transition, both in terms of its business model and finding its audience. We're not in a major media market here. We're not at New York and Chicago and Los Angeles. We're out in the prairie in Oklahoma. And we're in a great university led by an incredible president, David Boren, who's done phenomenal things. And we couldn't be more pleased with the way things have done. But you don't have that stimulation that you would have if you're sitting right in the middle of Manhattan or you're in the middle of LA. And so you have to create stimulation here. You always have to be vigilant and on your toes. I'm always an advocate for change and for trying to be on top of what's happening and always trying to push to be a little better. And what do we not know that we should know? what should we be, what are we complacent about that we shouldn't be complacent about? And so I sort of artificially create that environment with a little more edge on it, because it doesn't quite come as naturally as it does when you're right in the heartbeat of the media kingdom. And students today have to be much more entrepreneurial. This is not a business where you graduate and you go into a company and work for 30 or 40 years as an employee. You're much more likely to either be a freelancer, an independent contractor, an individual creator of content that you market to someone else. And students understand that, and they really embrace it. They see that they've got to be much more multifaceted than they used to be. They have to make their own way. Well, we're trying to be as technologically friendly as we can here in Gaylord Hall by providing our students with incredible opportunity to express their creativity. Apple Computer is honoring us in a couple of weeks as one of their 8 programs of distinction in the United States, the only journalism program to be honored. We're very proud of that. But I think what that says is that we've just created a backbone where students can do their work, where the technology is in the background, is more seamless and is not that prominent. And that's one of our goals right now, is just to tee things up so that they can hit a great shot. And the students today are so creative. Many of them have just such a wonderful attitude about the future, and they seem to care about people, other people, a strong public service orientation. You really, in many cases, just have to turn them loose and give them the opportunity to do what they do.